You can start.
Yeah, no, but please, can they give me 5 minutes? I need to fix something in my office. Just 5 minutes.
No problem. Okay. So since we have 5 minutes, do you have any question as per yesterday? Any question?
I'm not clear about this interdependent roles and working together. It's to me, it looks as if they're working and
Okay.
so I need
You
to
answer, yeah, you answer the question, okay? That's what I've done, okay? Yeah. So, which other one? We have any question? Let's see how the class will go. And then you don't make yes. Like in Steve, we don't buy the coffee. What's up to that?
If you're meant to be able to talk about well, that's just saying. Anyhow,
But in serious, no, you have to. Hello. Are you there? Mr. Lawale. It's more than 5 minutes.
Yes, then they get What's up for
Hello. Good morning. Sorry, is my camera on? I just want to be sure.
Yeah, we are seeing you. Yeah.
Okay, so you can, my camera is working, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So can someone briefly go over what we looked at yesterday, share with me your learnings, and then also share with me one thing you think you have learned that you want to take back to your classroom for the next step. Because basically for me, this is beyond just getting the certification, but it's also the most important thing for me. It's what do you do with everything you're learning to improve your students? How do you improve their learning? How do you improve engagement in your classroom? So what are you going to do differently? Because the truth is, I always say this, as much as you as a school would market and push your school out for people to see, your biggest marketers are your students and your parents. And the only reason your students and your parents will market you is if they find value in what you're offering them. So if they don't find value in what you're offering them, they're not likely to recommend, or they're not likely to do the marketing for you, and they're actually your biggest marketers. So I want you to share, I just want maybe one or two, share with me what you have learned from yesterday. How do you intend to translate this into your classroom, and what are you looking at doing differently with your students from next term? So someone should please share.
One person from primary, one person from secondary.
One person from
for the primary section and secondary
Okay, one
section.
person from primary and one person from secondary.
Yes.
Okay, good. That'll be fine. Yes. Can I have someone? Is it that we didn't learn anything, and are we not planning to do anything in our class? Who wants to share? Who wants to share? Yes.
Morning, Mrs. Deborah.
Yes, good morning.
Okay, I am from the primary section. From what we talked yesterday, initially when I want to teach, I go straight and start with my teaching. I give them everything they need to know. I just pick a few points from them.
Yes.
But from what you given us yesterday, I've come to understand that I really need to give them time, listen to them, listen to their ideas, that they are not empty. They also have a lot to give. So I'll get their own ideas first and put them down. And by getting their own ideas first, I think it will make them to remember it more later in life. And again, it's not just about learning it and passing exams, but also putting those things into practice in their lives, so that even as they grow up, it will equally help them in their life. They will also see that not just the practicable things, not just to write and pass exams, but the things that can equally be practiced and utilized in their life to help them. Another thing is this collaboration issue. So I've also learned that when I give them any task to do, I have to share them and then let them choose the part each person wants to do, and equally go out, make their own findings, and come up with their original findings and submit their results to me. Then I will also find out from each one what role did each person play to ensure that they actually collaborated in carrying out that task. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Please, what's your name, ma?
My name is Leticia Okafor.
Okay, are you in the secondary or in the primary?
I am in the primary.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you for taking, in fact, you did a good job. You delivered excellently on what we talked about. So you have a 5,000 Naira gift from me. So I'll find a way of getting it across to you. So that's my Christmas gift to you. And well done. Trust me, I'm already seeing your classroom as a very engaging classroom. I can feel the excitement your children are going to feel when they come back, because you just covered everything we've been trying to say about MCE, and that is it. So thank you so much. At least I have one teacher that I'm guaranteed is going back with a difference and is going to transform the lives of their children. You find out that even when your children leave your class, when they move on to the next class, they don't want to go, they still want you. So thank you so much and well done. Okay, all right, good. So we're going to dive into today, and so that's the person that gets my Christmas gift. I didn't want to make it known that I was going to give a gift to whoever responded, because I know if I'd said that, everybody will want to respond. So sometimes you just keep the surprise. Okay, so good. Today we're going to be looking at another rubric, and that's the self-regulation rubric. And when we talk about self-regulation, it's like trying to do like a thorough reflection on on things. And there are 3 key levels in self-regulation, 3 key levels. Now, the 3 key levels are long-term activity, planning own work, and revised work based on feedback. Long-term activity, planning own work, and revised work based on feedback. So, what do we mean by long-term activity? A learning activity is considered long-term if students work on it for a substantive period of time. If the learning activity is completed within a single class period, meaning that within a single class period, I have finished teaching this, they don't need to apply it again, they don't need to use it again, it's all over. You can't call that long-term. There's no time for students to plan, there's no time for them to even process what they have learned or improve on it. I am teaching my children essay writing, and they just do that essay there, and that's the end. There's no time for them to look back into what they have written. There's no time for them to reflect on it, make any kind of improvements. Everything is within 5 minutes, we are done. I'm teaching you descriptive writing, within 5 minutes, we are done. There's no way for those children to reflect and say, okay, this, I need to add this more, I need to do this, or take time to even study about it. That cannot be termed as a long-term activity. So length of time, it's important for self-regulation. Length of time is important for self-regulation. Now, the other one is learning goals and success criteria. And I want to explain the difference between learning goals and success criteria. Learning goals is, I am teaching on water filtration. Now, what is my learning goal? I put my learning goals are like my learning objective. And please, your learning objective are expected to be on your board from the beginning to the end of your lesson. You don't wipe them off because they are supposed to be a guide for you. They are supposed to be a guide for you. Your learning goals are supposed to be on the board from the beginning of the lesson to the end of the lesson. They're supposed to, like I said, a guide. You're supposed to be able to look at it. I have 3 goals I want to achieve in this class today, and you keep reflecting back on it. Have I achieved goal 1 with my students? Have I achieved goal 2? Have I achieved goal 3? Now, success criteria are those factors that will be considered to determine whether the learning goals have been met. So, if my learning goal today is to teach on perimeter of plane shape, my learning goal today is to teach on perimeter of plane shape, my success criteria would be that children should be able to solve 5 questions on perimeter of plane shape. That's my success criteria. So if they're able to solve 5, then it means that my learning goal has been achieved. So it's important that you share with the children what the learning goals are and what the success criteria is. I am teaching on photosynthesis. My learning goal might be children being able to explain the process, or I'm teaching on water cycle, children being able to explain the process, or I'm even teaching on numbers, counting numbers 1 to 20. That is my learning objective. But what is my success criteria? My success criteria could be that I am 100% successful if I can count 1 to 20. I am 80% successful if I can count 1 to 15. I am 50% successful if I can count 1 to 10. Children know their success criteria and they know where they are. They know what, then they can even know what to improve on. They can even do a checklist for themselves and say, the class today, the success criteria for today was that I should be able to state the formula for, they taught us perimeter of plane shape, and they taught us the perimeter of a square, perimeter of a rectangle, perimeter of a triangle, perimeter of a circle. They taught us all this. Success criteria should be, maybe I should be able to know all the formula. That's one success criteria. Second success criteria might be, I should be able to apply those formulas in solving questions. So a child can begin to reflect and say, today's class, I was successful in this area because now I know all my formulas. What I need to work on now is the fact that, how do I use this formula? Another child might have a success, knowing success criteria. That child can say, oh, today's class, I am 100% successful. The success criteria that was set was that we should be able to apply the formulas, and I was able to solve 10 questions that the teacher put on the board. So it is important. Children should know what the learning goals are and should also know what the success criteria is. So as you go back, please, these are things you should implement. Don't just go into the class and teach. That's not what we're there for. When you're teaching, do children even know what it means to be successful in that topic? The children know what the real requirement is for that topic. The children know what the key takeaway for that topic is. So those are things we need to look out and pay attention to. Now, yes, no for long-term activity. And like we said, long-term activity means it takes a period of time. So even we talked about the success criteria, that's why we say it takes a period of time. You don't expect children to be able to achieve that thing in one day. So yes, you might have some very brilliant students that as you are saying it, they are getting it. There are some students that have even read very well before your class, so even before they come to your class, they know. So as you're saying it, they are getting it, but you still have some that, so please, length of time, give it time. Give it time in whatever you're doing. Now, the other one is planning own work. In self-regulation, we say planning own work. What do we mean by planning own work? Students plan their own work when they make decisions about the schedule steps they will follow and accomplish the tasks. Now, I don't know how many of you ever heard of the Martina Teacher of the Year Awards. How many of you know of Martina Teacher of the Year Awards? Okay, good. And if you've ever seen the form, there's a part of that form that would require you to fill certain criteria on how you let children make decisions in your class. And what do you put in place for children to do that? And we say planning their own work involves deciding how, deciding when, deciding who, deciding where. Is similar to what we talked about yesterday when we say, don't be the one to decide. You have assigned them a task to do. Let them decide how they want to do it. Especially for those of you in the secondary, please, we are dealing with matured adults. Those of you in the primary, they are still children you need to guide. But even when you need to guide, please, they are not completely blank slates. I'm telling you the truth. Put something on the board, ask your children to make a discussion. You'll be shocked at the things that will come out of their mouth about it. You will be shocked at things they would say. You will be shocked at the kind of things they will tell you. You open your mouth and wonder why. They're born into the digital age. They're exposed from day one to things. So that's why it's even good that you should let them speak so that you even know what to guide them against. You even know how to tailor them in the right direction. Let them decide who. They divide the work among themselves and finally decide where. Do they want to carry out this activity? When we are doing our rehearsal, should we do our rehearsal using the school hall? Should we do our rehearsal using the basketball court? Should we do our rehearsal using our classroom? Let children think. When they come up with it to you, you can now look at it and say, oh, this your basketball court you have said is good, but however, it's not a very safe space because X, Y, Z. So don't you think you should change your venue? You can do that. But at least they are carried along. There's an ownership of it. Even us as educators, even in your school community there, you'll find out that most often than not, when you are not involved in something, you hardly take ownership of that thing. You hardly take ownership. But whereby you are asked to bring up the idea and run it, you find out that you're even more involved in it than when it is the school imposing the idea and the suggestions on you. So it's the same thing with our learners. It's the same thing with our learners. We need to understand that. So we need to give them that opportunity to plan their own work. So you need to look at it very well. How are they going to break it down into small tasks? How are they going to set deadlines for themselves? And once they start doing this, it will translate even into their own academic life. You see them now that they will now begin to understand that, I have exams in 3 weeks' time, and these are the subjects I need to do. How do I break it down? Which subject do I use 1 hour for? Which subject do I use 2 hours for? They can start planning themselves. But it starts with how you work with them. And one of the reasons why I'm very particular about this is, you might not believe it, but children spend more time with you than they spend at home. Because most times children are in school from like 7 till about 4. And when they get home, they're probably just awake for a few hours and they're back on their bed sleeping. So the most active time of their life where they are learning and getting that thing that transforms their life is when they are in school with you as the educator. So the question is, what impact are you making? How are you pushing them? So let's look at the yes and no here. Learning activity. Over 2 weeks, students work in groups to research and debate climate change with their classmates. Students decide who will research which aspect of the topic and who will speak at different points of the debates. That's a yes of student planning their own work. The educator assigns specific roles to each student. No, you are the one planning for them. Students make their own deadlines for completing their research, writing their speeches, and practicing them. The educator is giving them deadline and everything for them to follow. It's a no. Give them a chance. Give them a chance to improve on what they want by themselves. We're not saying ignore them or leave it to them. We're saying be a guide. Be a guide. Be a guide. Be a guide. Any questions before I move on?
Yes.
Any question?
Yes.
Okay, please go ahead.
Sorry, you said they should decide, but in academics, we deal with planning. You plan based on what you want to do. So for instance, if we give students homework, you allow them to decide when they will submit, when the time for the test is going. So how are you going to achieve it to concern with the
okay, so let me explain this. I give children homework. I know that homework, they require 2 weeks to submit the homework. Now, I'm going to ask a question. We have a homework, and based on our school calendar, our time frame is 2 weeks. Now, how do you want to plan it in such that you meet up with that 2 weeks time frame? Do you think you can do it before the 2 weeks? Sit down and then schedule how you want it to go. I'm not the one now that will not tell you the first stage of the homework should be done in 1 week. The second stage of the homework should be done in 2 days. The other stage should be done in 3 days. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Eh?
Yes.
Sometimes we have a whole term project. Sometimes, okay, let me give an example now. like my school now, we have a team, you have a team for every term. Let's say this term, the team is on entrepreneurship. Each class is expected to come up with their own idea of what they want to do, but with the goal of entrepreneurship. The next term is on tourism, and they're expected to come up with their own activity on tourism, looking at different, which tourist site do they want to work with, why do they think that that tourist site will be lucrative, how much do they think, what are the key features and all that. So you could tell them this is the project for the term, and presentation is on so and so day. So it's up to them to now go and plan how they want to go about it, how they want to research, what they want to research, what they can complete within the first week, what they can complete within the second week. When they finish, they'll do the schedule and bring it to you, and you look at it. Now, when they create the schedule and bring to you, it might not be perfect. You might need to put in your input, but the point we're saying is not that you have given them projects to work on tourism, then you now sit them down. Since we have given you project to work on tourism, I want you to go and research on Obudukatu Ranch. You know that in Obudukatu Ranch, they have XYZ, this is it. Yeah, what are they now researching? You have already done all the work. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Eh?
Yes.
Then you're also telling them that in 2 weeks, I want to see what your research is on this. No. Tell them, let them sit down and create a schedule. You have 6 weeks to work. How do you intend to break down your tasks for that 6 weeks? How do you intend to achieve this in 6 weeks? What do you expect? What timelines are you setting? So go and do it and bring it to me as the educator. I only hold you accountable with what you have given to me. And before you know it, you're teaching your children how to plan. You're teaching them time management. You have not tagged it. Today's class is on time management. But the activity you have given to them and how they are going to set about it will teach them time management at the end of the day. So your goal would have been achieved. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. Is this clear, please?
Yes.
Okay, so the person that asked the question, is this clear with you? Is my explanation clear?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, the last part we want to do is opportunity to revise work based on feedback. Opportunity to revise work based on feedback. And I'll give an example. One of the things I do in class, when I teach in class and I put class activity on the board, when students are working, I'm a maths teacher. So when I put the class activity on the board, I've explained the concept and I put the activity. Excuse me. Now, I begin to ask them, as they are working, I'm going round. When I come to you, I look at what you're doing and I can see that you've walked well from step 1, step 2. At step 3, there's a negative sign that is supposed to affect your answer, which you have ignored. I don't need to tell you what you are supposed to do, but I can give you a feedback before you bring your final work to me for marking for the day. So I look at your work. I'm not telling you your answer, but I can look at your work and say, Tosin, don't you think the negative sign there should play a role in what you're doing? I've given her a feedback. Now Tosin will go back, look at her work again, and read through, and then she'll pick it. Oh, this negative, I was supposed to use it to open up the bracket, but I just opened up the bracket without paying attention. She can correct her work and submit to me. For crying out loud, it's not final exam. That's why it's called formative assessment. Everything you do in your class is called formative assessment. It's supposed to aid learning. Unfortunately, a lot of us treat even our class activity as if they are writing final exam. It's not final exam. Your class activity is not final exam, please. It is not end of term exam. It is not midterm test. It is class activities called formative assessment. It's supposed to aid learning. I have given you an essay to write, and I'm walking around and I'm looking at what you're writing, and I'm like, Michael, I think you need to look at your T's. Are you sure you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's properly? Michael, I think you need to read your paragraph 2 again. Are you sure that you have used your verb? You know, there's a way you're not telling them the answer. You're not telling them what to do. You're giving them feedback that can help them look over their work again, improve on their work. Because the whole essence is for learning. It's an assessment for learning. That's why you're doing class activity. The essence of you giving a class activity is to assess, did they get my concept? It's not to make a judgment of whether they're intelligent or not. In fact, the class activity is to judge you and your own learning. Because if your learning went through perfectly well, the students will get everything. But if they're not able to do it, then it means there's something you need to tweak in your teaching. So that's why I said it's not that you give class activity, you now go and sit down. Oh yeah, no talking. Hey, Peter, stop turning your face there. Face your front. No. I've just finished teaching you area of a plane shape. I've taught you area of plane shape. I now write 5 questions on the board. I say solve it. I'll now go and sit down in front of the class. I'll balance. Hey, Michael, stop. Why are you looking at the back? Face your front. I beg, is it test they are writing? Do you understand what I'm saying? You should be going around giving feedback so they can improve. And when you go around, the child is solving the question and you look at it and said, oh, John, I think you need to look at that your formula for area of a circle again. I have not told you the formula for area of a circle, but I'm telling you, look at it again. It means John needs to go back, check what you have been taught, and take a second look. So students should receive feedback concerning their learning goals and success criteria. And feedback is not necessarily from you alone. Feedback can come from their own peers. One of the things I do a lot in my classes, when I give an activity, and that's why I said it's assessment for learning, not a summative assessment that you want to determine whether the child is intelligent or not. So once I'm done, as I'm going around and I look at, oh, student A has gotten everything very well, but student D is struggling with some key points, I'll move student A. I said, please, go be an assistant to student D. Don't tell her the answer, but help her figure out what she's doing wrong. It's called peer tutoring. So feedback is very, very important. Feedback is very, very important. Not that you just, I've given them the work. Please hurry up and finish. Let me mark it and record. When it is not WAEC. So students learn about environmental conservation and create games in Kudo where players make decisions to preserve the environment. After developing a beta version of the game, so they did a first version of the game, students trade the game with their partners, each other feedback to improve their work. So sometimes when you give work in class, you can say, oh, you are finished. Okay, exchange. Oh yeah, look at it, look at each other, give yourself feedback if you have done well. Oh yeah, I give you 2 minutes to give yourself feedback. They give themselves feedback. They return it back. Oh yeah, based on the feedback, look at it if there's anything you need to improve. And then they finish and submit to you before you start grading. I don't know why we are so particular about marks and grades and scores in Nigeria. I have students I teach in the UK. A lot of times when they bring their result, the only thing you see in their results is evolving, outstanding. They don't put score. They don't put score. They are not particular about that, because what they are particular about is the child improving, being better. They don't use any score to judge any child, because like they say, even the most intelligent student, maybe something happened in the house that day before the child left to come and write your exam and not even write very well. You say that child is not good. There are different things that affect people when it comes to learning. So the other one is students create PowerPoint presentation about a topic in world history. Students do practice presentation, receive feedback from their educator and peers, and revise their presentation based on feedback before doing a final presentation. Not that I've given them the project for the term, they should write on a topic in world history, and your own is you are just waiting for the last day. Yeah, come and do your final. Today is submission day. They come with their presentation. You now carry that your red pen. Hold the red pen very well. Group A, your presentation, you are finished, 5 marks. Group B, your presentation, you are finished, 8 marks. No. In between, there should have been a point where you ask them for that presentation, look it over, and give them feedback so they can improve. Like I said, the goal is learning. And when children feel comfortable that it's not about getting marks, but it's about learning and knowing it well, you find out that they don't forget. So they go past the level where they are cramming. They are not cramming anymore because their goal is not assessment anymore. Their goal is learning. So they are not cramming, they want to know. And you see that because they want to know, eventually it improves their learning. It even improves their academic performance. Any question on this? Okay.
Yes, I want to take you back to previous page. You said that we should go around correcting students, people that we taught in the classes. I know mine does that, and I discovered that from children, as you are going around correct them or allow others to assist them, they depend on them. They are not ready to work on their own. So how can we solve that kind of problem?
So like I said, I am not going around to tell you what to do 100%. For example, I like the illustration I gave, I taught you area of plane shape, and I'm going around and I'm saying that instead of you using the formula for, okay, let me give this. A lot of times, a lot of students mix the formula between area of a circle and circumference of a circle. So I'm going around, you're supposed to be solving the area of a circle, and I can see that the formula you're using is for circumference of a circle. When I get to you, I'm not going to tell you that you are using the formula for, I'll just look at your work and say, John, I think you should review your question 3, especially looking at your formula. I've not told you the formula to use, and I walk past you. I won't give you any details that would lead you to your answer, but I will provide you a feedback that you would know that you should step back and look again. And like you said, yes, you would have 1 or 2 students who would always want to be lazy. We're not ruling that out. But the point we're saying is, don't because of that 1 or 2 students now say, The other 80 that you know are not going to be lazy, but are going to get better, now say, I'm not doing it. I don't know if you get my point.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yes, yes.
So don't, because of the other 1 or 2 that are not getting it, and now say this, and you now say, okay, no, I'm not going to implement this, because I mean, if I implement it, I have a class of 20, 3 people are so lazy, they will never want to do anything, they always want me to come to them. But how about the other 17 that are actually getting better because of what you're doing? So what we're saying is, these things work, but as an educator also, you need to know how to create the balance. You need to know how to create the balance. Okay, so let's look at the rubric. So level 1, they're not planning their own work because there's no evidence of learning goals or success criteria. There's no evidence of learning goals or success criteria. So it means they're not planning their work. Level 2, it's not a long-term activity. Level 2, we can now start considering it as a long-term activity when we see that children are aware of learning goals and success criteria. However, they do not successfully plan or monitor their own work. Level 3 means they are now beginning to successfully plan and monitor their own work, but they don't get any feedback. They don't get any feedback. Sometimes, even when students submit their work for me, I give them, I don't solve the question for them. But I would put an arrow to where they need to review, and just put one comment that would guide them. And I will not tell them, review it. Yes, I have marked it, review it before I go and start solving the correction on the board. A lot of times when you do that, they will think again, and then they will now be able to solve it. Now, because you're not the one that is putting the correction on the board, and they are doing a thinking and doing it, you find out that they now know that, oh, this is the best method, this is the wrong method. So here is the flow diagram. So level 1, no learning goals, no success criteria, so it's not a long-term activity. Level 2, yes, they have learning goals, they have success criteria, however, they are not planning their own work. Level 3, they start planning their work, but there's no feedback and there's no opportunity to revise their work based on feedback. So the next one we want to look at now is the real world problem solving and innovation. So there's what we call problem solving, there's what we call real world problem solving, and then there's what we call innovation. So let's dive in and see what the difference. So first we have problem solving, then we have real world problems, and we have innovation. So there are problems, but there are also problems that are real world problems. Problem solving. What's problem solving? Problem solving involves a task with a defined challenge for the students. Something that you give to them and you don't give them the complete solution as to how they should complete it. Something that you make them do and you're not the one directing them on everything from beginning to the end. So there's an opportunity for them to adjust their learning and all that. Learning activities that require problem solving says students are not given all the information they need. So sometimes you can tweak your question in such a way that They don't have everything. They should be able to think. Create that room for thinking. Even when you give them a task to do, you're not giving them every single instruction as to step by step. There should be that room where they bring in their own inputs into the activity. You should create room for that. So yes, students rewrote a story from the perspective of a character other than the narrator. So, for example, children can rewrite the story of Macbeth from another perspective. Yesterday, I was talking about CRS, and I said students can use, it's a political story. The story of Joseph is a political story. But students can rewrite that story of Joseph using Nigerian as a case study. So yes, they're using the theme from there, but they're not writing the Joseph story the way it is. So the other part of it says students use a map of a bus route to propose where pedestrian crossing should be in a fictional town. Now, why are they using the word fictional town? Fictional town means it's a story, it's not experienced by real people. It would not be used by real people. So they could solve a problem, but that problem is not being experienced by real people. So that's just termed problem solving. So for example, I ask them to give them a question, solve area of a rectangle, I give them the dimensions. They're able to solve that problem, but it's not a real world problem. It's just a problem. So that's the difference between problem solving and real world problem solving. So we'll go into the real world problem solving. Now, real world problems are now authentic situations and needs that exist outside the academic context, that are experienced by real people. So for example, I like to use the water filtration thing. Now, I'm teaching on water filtration. We talked about water filtration. They're going to solve the problem of water filtration. They come up with a solution, but it can't be termed as a real world problem because they did not look at any specific community. When they were doing it, they did not consider any specific community. They did not look at any specific community as a case study. So they were not dealing with real problems. They didn't go to any particular community and say this community has water problem. They took the water from there and tried to find a solution to it. So it must have a solution for real people. Now, when we talk about finding the area of a shape, yes, they can solve area of different shapes. But imagine if they had to measure the dimensions of their classroom and find the area of their classroom. That is a real world problem. Because that is their classroom which they are using. That is something that is pertaining to real people. So we say if students are using data to solve a problem, they are using actual data. They are using actual data. They are using real records, not an assumed record, not a guessed record, not suggested figures that would just say, okay, let's assume the figures are low. We're using real figures. I am teaching on marketing, or I am teaching on the most valuable business. I am not guessing the figures. I am telling you the most valuable business is Uber transport, because in 2023, Uber did this, real figures, real data, not the one developed by an educator or publisher of a lesson, not the one developed in the textbook, real figures. I want to teach on speed. I'm not just using an assumed value for the distance and the time. I am saying when you're coming to school today, the distance from your house to your school is 100 kilometers. Please check how many minutes it takes you to get to school, and then use that to determine the speed of the vehicle that came with you. Real figures, real data. So it becomes real world problem solving. So that's why I said we'll get to a point where they begin to translate. So it says students rewrote a Shakespeare play for a teenage audience. Now the other one talked about them rewriting the Shakespeare play, but they were not rewriting the Shakespeare play for anybody. They were not doing it for real people. Now this one says students use their town's bus map to propose where pedestrian crossing should be added in their town. The last one was in a fictional town, but this one is in their town. Students investigate whether growing plants in their classroom could improve the air quality of their classroom. That's an issue that pertains to them, real people. Not that they're investigating whether the interaction between green plants and carbon dioxide in the air. So, very important. And then the last one here talks about innovation. And innovation requires putting students' idea or solution into practice in the real world. So yes, they've come up with ideas, they've come up with solutions, but of what use is that idea or solution if nobody's going to benefit from it? It might be a real world problem, it might be very authentic problem to real people in their community, but nobody's going to benefit from it. Now, in a case where, let me give an example. You have a drainage problem in the school, and the children observe that there's a drainage problem in the school, and they come up with a solution for that drainage problem in the school. Now, they've identified a problem, it's a real world problem, they have preferred solution to it. However, they don't have the ability to implement it. But they now sit down, write details about it, and send it to the school PTA, because the PTA has the power to implement it. It is innovation. Because at the end of the day, when it is implemented, it is not, the idea would not be credited to the PTA because it was not their idea. It will be credited to the children. So it's their own innovation. So we say in a case where children cannot implement, but they can communicate to someone that can implement, then it becomes innovation. So the peak of problem solving and innovation is where children's ideas are being implemented. For example, children have organized a play for teenagers. If the play was to talk about drug abuse, of what use is the research and the play if they don't showcase the play to the teenagers that are supposed to benefit and learn about the drug abuse? Then it's of no use. But whereby they can now say, okay, today they are hosting the teenagers in their community and they showcase that play on drug abuse that benefits them, then it becomes innovation for them. Any questions, please?
It's a school.
Yes, it's cool. Sorry.
Sorry.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, you can see your screen.
No.
The call came through. That's why you can proceed.
Okay. So Here it says students rewrite a Shakespeare play for a teenage audience and perform it at a local youth center. So them performing it at a local youth center makes it innovation because they are performing it for people that will benefit from it. If they only write the play, but they don't perform it, nobody benefits from it. You can't term it as innovation. Students write letter to the town council about their ideas for adding pedestrian crossing in their town and mail the letter to the council members. They cannot implement it, but they mailed it to people who can implement it. Yes, that becomes innovation. But if they just finish and then they submit it to the teacher just grades them excellent, it's not innovation because nobody is going to benefit from it. Nobody is going to know about the idea. Nobody is going to get anything from it. So the rubric, level 1, there was no problem solving at all. There was no challenge, nothing. That's level 1. Level 2, they started solving a problem, but it was not a real world problem. Level 3, it becomes a real world problem, but there was no level of innovation involved. And level 4 is when there is innovation involved. Level 4, we now get to the level of innovation. Any questions, please? Any questions?
Yes.
Okay.
My question is first and foremost, we spoke about 2 areas, problem solving and real world problem. I think one of the reasons why I don't know mathematics today is lack of my mathematics teacher inclusion of real world problem to teaching.
No, you're not lying.
Because I'll be asked to.
What I'm a maths teacher and I will tell you that
you
you're 100% correct. That's why a lot of people don't know maths because nobody ever made them see the real world aspect of maths.
Because I've been asked to find X, I'll be asking myself to who X. I will not know.
Why didn't know
Yes.
Yeah. Another question I want to ask is this. I have not marked any external exam before. So if there is any examiner here, I think the person should clarify me on the point to say that students should rewrite a story from the perspective of a character rather than the narrator's view.
Yes.
If an examiner says should help us there, because if I am asked to narrate a story and I narrate it from the character perspective outside the narrator's point of view, will they score it for me?
Okay, so now let me explain this. A lot of okay, can I have, is there an English teacher or a literature, preferably a literature teacher? Okay, can I have the literature teacher come a bit close so we can answer this? Okay, so you're a literature teacher. Thank you, sir. So I'm not 100% sure because I'm not into literature, but I still remember that back in those days, they would tell you to write on, let's say, let me take the one I read when I was in school, The Concubine and the Things Fall Apart. And they will tell you to write, explain a particular theme in The Concubine. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, when they ask you to explain that thing, are they expecting you to narrate it as it is in the book, or they're expecting you to just make sure that the story you tell showcases that theme?
Please, they are not actually asking you to
retell the story the way it was told. But the examiner wants to test your ability, wants to know whether you understood the story. So you are telling the story based on your own perspective, but you are not going out of the
context
story as it was told.
Thank you. So that's what we're trying to say. Thank you. Thank you. So when they say you're rewriting, that when you're rewriting, you're not using the narrator's own word or language or writing it exactly the way the narrator has read it, but you're not out of space in terms of what the theme is. Let's say, for example, the theme is on betrayal. You're still writing and showcasing that theme, betrayal. However, you have not repeated the book.
Exactly.
I don't know if
Yeah, yes, you are correct.
So that's what we're saying. So yes, children can, that's what we're now calling that you're now do your, not don't copy. A lot of times our children can't even think. They can't think. You can't tell, let me give you an example. Yeah, Sanford. I hope there's an economics teacher here in this place. Okay, so I know in economics, there's what they call the monopoly, market monopoly, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I once taught in a school where the economics teacher had taught that, and then the economics teacher now gave them in their exam, they were supposed to explain monopoly. And this child explained monopoly. Do you know what she used? Now in that school, we had a talk shop where they buy biscuits, sweets, and everything. And it was only one lady. She was the only one that used to sell in that school. She was the only one. So it's either you buy from her or you wait till closing time. When you are going home, you go and buy your snacks. But if you had to buy your snacks, you had to buy from her. And to be quite honest, if biscuit was going for 3 for 10 naira outside, she would sell for 3, she would sell 2 for 10 naira. And the children didn't have an option, they would buy. Do you understand? So when the teacher asked them that question, do you know that this child explained monopoly, used this lady's name to explain the monopoly, and gave her as an example. Gave her as an example. She said it there. She said, like, for example, Mrs. Shokenu is the only one that is selling biscuits and this in the school. And as a result of that, she can inflate her price. She can, oh my God, it sounded funny, but the reality was this child understood what that concept was, and she was able to relate it to her real life. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Excellent.
Now, but you know that there are some other students that could not answer that question outside of the definition that was given to them in class. They could not. So that's what we're saying, that you should be, they should be able to look at what you're teaching them and see it in the world around them and apply it. That's the whole essence of all this. Let our children become lifelong learners. So the last rubric we are going to look at is the use of ICT. And this is the one that I fight a lot with educators. If I see an educator that is not technologically inclined right now, I'm wondering where you are. Because the truth is, the children you are teaching themselves, if it's not technology, they are not interested. A 2-year-old can operate a phone very well. So if you have a 2-year-old that can operate a phone very well, and that 2-year-old is sitting in your class, and all you are doing is talking, there's no technology, there's no use of ICT, there's no, you are not. I had to change my daughter's school because she was coming back every day and complaining to me, Mommy, I'm bored. And I knew why she was saying she was bored. Because she was in a school where from Monday to Friday, they didn't play one video for her to watch and learn anything. So she wasn't feeling the excitement. She didn't feel engaged. That's the new world we're in, especially for those young learners. Especially for those young learners, please find a way to improvise. A lot of times we will say, oh, the school had not, I'll tell you this for free. I bought a laptop. I started showing my students video in a school where they never had a projector or anything. It was only one projector we had, and the projector was in my VP Academics office. So I used to go and sign for it in the morning, and I'll carry it to class when I have class, and I'll project it. I'll set it very well so that it will show on the whiteboard, and I'll connect my laptop to it so that I can use video with my students. But it improved my teaching. And children started being very excited about maths. In fact, I used to have what my colleagues would call school 2. Because when they close, my school closes at 2:30. When they close at school 30, they will all come and park in one classroom beside me for me to come and teach them. And sometimes I'll stay in school teaching them till about 4 p.m. Again, it was like I had another school outside of school. And my children were doing well. When teachers used to complain that students were very noisy, I had one teacher, we had this class, I never forget, there were 30 students in that class, 22 of them were boys, it was a science class, 22 were boys, only 8 were girls in that class. In fact, we lamented like this, like how did you people even put 22 boys together in one class? And when teachers go into that class, they will come out sweating. And the biology teacher was my very good friend. She was always lamenting. Anytime she goes to that class, she'll come and say, Ms. Olawale, this class is stressful. Those students can make noise. You will talk and get tired. So one day I called her, I said, what topic do you want to teach the students this term? She said she was going to be teaching them on enzymes. So I went online and I looked at enzymes. Took the biology textbook, looked at the concept of enzymes in the biology textbook, and I downloaded like 3 different videos. I told her to come and watch. She looked at it and she picked one of the videos. She was like, that one is very good. It will cover everything she wants to teach in class. And I told her, I said, can we create worksheets together? And we created the worksheets. And I told her, print out a copy. When we went outside, printed it outside, came back to school, used the school photocopy machine and made 30 copies of that worksheet. And I told her, I said, change your class for today. I said, for today alone, just carry this projector, because they knew me as projector carrier in my school. I said, carry this projector when you get to class. I helped her, we set it up. And as she came in, as they were busy talking, I said, just ignore them. They will keep quiet now. And she put that video. The moment she told them, she said, today's class, you're going to watch a video, and I'm giving you this worksheet now. After you have watched the video is 10 minutes. After you have watched the video, please pay attention, because I won't have the time to play it twice. When you finish, you would answer the worksheets. And I helped her to set it, I left. She came back after the 40 minutes of her class. She came back, she told me, Ms. Olawale, please, where did you get that video from? I want to go and download more. I said, why? She said, for the first time, I did not say, keep quiet, sit down, stop making noise. She said they were quiet because they were watching the video. They like film now. All of them want to watch film. So they watched that video, paid attention very well to the video. And when they finished, she said, you need to see the way they were answering the question, and they even answered it better than when she would have been the one to teach it to them. And that was how she started using videos in her class. So at least when I won Martina Teacher of the Year, 2 years after she applied, she also won. Because she's been implementing all the things the questionnaire will ask you in Martina Teacher of the Year. Is what we use every day. So it was not difficult to answer it and pass. So what am I trying to say? You need to learn to involve technology in your teaching. And sometimes it's not about the school. It's about you as an educator. What are you ready to do? What sacrifices are you ready to make? Yes, it sounds funny. I'm always very particular about technology, and I always share my story. When I started using technology, nobody taught me. I won't lie to you. Nobody taught me because I didn't have the money to go and pay. How much was my salary? My salary was 25,000 then. Where will I bring 25 out of the 25,000 I'm managing? But by the time I started using it, God upgraded me to a school where I was now earning 60,000. And my first laptop I bought was fairly used. I bought it 25,000 naira. I saved the money small. In fact, when I've saved the money small, and I told my husband that I want to buy small, fairly used laptop. My husband now went and bought the laptop for me. At the end of the day, God bless him, he didn't collect the money from me. But that was how I started. But what am I trying to say? I was quite intentional. And like I said, I was in a school where they didn't have projector. In fact, it was when we started doing those things and we started talking to them, please, can you put projector? Can you put interactive board? That they now started bringing projector in the classrooms. Even till now, they've not even done interactive board in the classrooms. But what am I saying? We were improvising with what we had. There were times I was taking the children to the ICT lab, and I will use my phone. I will put them in group. I have 3 of you on this laptop, 3 of you on this laptop, 3 of you on this system, 3 of you here. And I will use my phone as hotspot on those systems so that I can engage them with technology and improve my teaching. Whenever I wanted to teach pie charts and bar charts, I wanted my students to see how they could do it with Excel. I would take them to the ICT lab and I'll tell the ICT teacher, please, I'm coming to use your ICT lab between this period and this period. Those were things that got my children excited. And people used to say, as difficult as maths was, how did you do it that your students like to attend your class? If I am 1 minute late to my class, they are coming to my office to look for me. If I'm 1 minute late, they come to look for me. Mrs. Olale, come for class. We have to be intentional. Now, use of ICT. Student use of ICT happens when students use ICT directly to complete all or part of the learning activity. The educator's use of ICT to present material, like what I'm doing now, is not termed as use of ICT by the students. I'm using technology to present my material to you, but I can't say my students are using ICT until they get to use it themselves directly. So you presenting a material with ICT does not mean that the students are using ICT until they get to use it directly. And that was why I said sometimes take them to the ICT lab, where I want you people to do a PowerPoint presentation on XYZ topic. Please take them to the ICT lab. I have a conversation with the ICT teacher. During my class at this time, can my student come to the lab? And for the science teachers, please, there are simulations that are free. Gizmos is free. It's a simulation, it's free. And you can use it. Talk to your ICT teachers, they can download it on the systems. When you want to run some experiments, let the children come to the lab and you show them, let them use those simulations and do those experiments. Closed circuit, open circuit, how will the light come up, how will the light go off, how the battery is connected, those things are on Gizmos. Go to PhET simulations, they're free. Acid-base reactions, there's some experiments that you can't run because of the way it is. But you can use those simulations and show the children. It gives you the perfect reaction and everything, and they see it and they learn. Research on it, please. Let's not keep our children at a disadvantage. Technology is there. So here it says students use Excel spreadsheets software to complete a math learning activity. Math teachers, please use Excel. There's a lot you can do with Excel. Teach your children how to calculate average with Excel. Even quadratic graph. You can plot quadratic graph with Excel. Teach your children, those of you in the secondary school, please go and study how to do it and teach your children how to. It adds to the learning. It adds to the learning. It adds to the learning. Students learn about cell replication by using a software simulation to explore the process. There's software simulations. If you please make Google your best friend or any of the search engines, even if it's Microsoft Edge or Bing, make any of the search engines your friend. If you open it now, Google, free software simulation for teaching, you pop up. Then you try it yourself. See, there are even instructions on how you would use it. You'd use it, then you go and teach your children and they use it. It makes it easy. English teachers, it's not every time they must write the essay on paper and submit to you. Sometimes tell them, write it in Microsoft Word and email it to me. Please, we are in a world where everybody is using email now. Write it as they are going home on holiday, to give them a work that they could do. They're seniors, especially for you, for those of you in the secondary school, please don't limit your children. Primary schools, you can say, okay, they're children, there are some limitations, and so you want to. But for those of you in the secondary school, please and please, you don't have an excuse. Let them do some research work and all that, and tell them, send it to me by email. Give them your email. Let them engage. The days are gone when we used to, post office now is now used for sending cargo goods. Nobody's sending letters again now. Let's improve. Now, the other one we now talk about is use of ICT to support knowledge construction. What do we mean by that? Support knowledge construction. Now, there are cases where you use ICT to support your knowledge construction. For example, I listen to news. I get information on news. It helps my knowledge. Or I go on the internet. I do a research to improve maybe my assignment or something that has been given to me. That is using ICT to support your knowledge construction. Just like we're saying, children use Excel to plot a graph. It doesn't mean they cannot plot the graph on paper. They can plot the graph using a normal graph sheet, but they decided to use Excel to do it. That's use of ICT to support knowledge construction. It doesn't mean they can't do it. Or it's just like what I said now, when you give your student essay, it's not every essay that they must write on paper. They can write on paper, or some other students can decide that I want to type it out using Microsoft Word, print it out and submit to my teacher. They have used ICT for knowledge construction. So that's what we mean by use of ICT for knowledge construction. So this is the yes and no of use of ICT. So it says students use sticky sorter to create interconnected plots and character diagrams for the novel they read in literature class. And then there are lots of, nowadays there are a lot of apps, even small apps that they can even do animations and all that. Please engage them with all those things. Ask yourself, sometimes by the time you start, you even see, you learn a lot from these children. Like me now, most times it's my children that come to teach me some things. Because we are busy looking for money, we don't have time, but they have the time, they know everything. I remember when the AI AI pictures were trending, and I was thinking, everybody's doing AI picture. Let me do my own AI picture. It was my student that taught me how to do it. I was just saying it in class one day. I said, I need to do this AI picture. How will I do my own? That's how one student said, Auntie, there's an app. I can show you, download the app. I said, really? What's the app? She told me. I downloaded the app. She said, but you will pay subscription. I said, no problem. Me, I quickly downloaded the app. She said, it's called Redmi. I downloaded the app. I paid the subscription for the app. After I paid the subscription, I now asked her, how am I going to do it? She sat down and taught me every single step. Before you know it, I've created my AI picture. In fact, when I created the picture and posted on my status, my younger brother said I should create it, and I said, you will pay me. He said, no problem. He said, how much? I know he has money now. I told him, bring 10,000 naira. I'll create it for you now. He sent me the 10,000 naira. I created the AI picture. I told him, help me advertise to your friends. That's how his friends were calling me that they want to create AI picture. I said, at the end of the day, I make my 50,000 naira. I now say, I'm not subscribed, I'm not paying again. I removed the subscription. The app is still on my phone, but I did not subscribe again. But I shall have made small money. Where did I learn it from? It's from my students. It's from my students. Because the truth is, it's their world. Technology is their world. So let's engage them with it. The other one is ICT. Now, we said use of ICT for knowledge construction. Now, this is now saying ICT required, and I'm going to explain the difference between the two. Use of ICT, like I said, I'm writing an essay. I can write that essay on paper, but I chose to write it using Microsoft Word. I am plotting a graph. I can plot that graph on a graph paper, but I chose to use Microsoft Excel to plot the graph. But however, there are cases where I cannot do that work unless I involve ICT. I'll give you an example. The crisis going on in Ukraine and Russia. If you don't have technology, is there any way you will know about it? Is there any way you will know about it? No. So that means that for you to have that knowledge, ICT must be involved. I'm in Nigeria. How will I know the exchange rate in China if I don't have technology? But I can know the exchange rate in Nigeria because I'm in Nigeria. Because I can pick up newspaper on the newspaper stand and see financial report I can read. But I cannot read financial report of China unless I go online. So that's the difference between ICT for knowledge construction and ICT required, meaning there's no way you get that information without using ICT. And even as I am in Lagos like this, I cannot know what is happening in Abuja if I don't open news and watch television. Television is technology. Or I open my own radio and listen. So without that technology, I can't get that information. So that's where we now say ICT is required for. ICT is required for knowledge construction. So yes, there are cases you use ICT, but you could actually do them on your own. For example, when we're talking about the experiments, I can carry out an experiment and just do the experiment in the house. But at the same time, I can use a software simulation that's using ICT. So that's the difference. I hope the difference is clear to us. Is the difference clear to us? Yes? Okay. So yeah, it says students wrote a report analyzing the different perspectives in 3 current event articles from international newspapers found on the internet. There's no way they can get, there's no way they can do that without the use of technology. There's no way they can get those information without having to go to the internet, unless they want to travel to the 3 different countries. Here it says a team of students created a process diagram showing how stars form. I mean, if you don't use technology, do you want to go to the sky? They can't go to the sky to see how stars are formed, but they can use technology and they're able to get the entire process. So those are the things we look at and we say ICT is required for knowledge construction. Like here, it says a team of students created a process diagram showing what happened when you mix vinegar and baking soda. I can mix vinegar and baking soda in my house and know what will happen. I don't need ICT for that. But it doesn't mean that I can't use ICT. I can, but it doesn't mean that without ICT I can do it without using ICT. So those are the difference. And then the last one we talk about is students becoming designers of ICT products. So the ICT teacher, the science teacher, this is up for you as a challenge. You should have a STEM club, you should have a coding club, where your children can begin to design small apps. They can become authentic designers of ICT products. They can become authentic, they're small. I mean, I'm challenging the ICT teacher here. Please, let your children start using coding. There are different coding sites, W3, I think it's W3 School. If you search W3 School online, it's a free platform where you can learn coding from scratch, even for you as a teacher. And you can introduce your students to it. So they become designers of ICT products, supporting real-world problems. For example, children are having challenge in XYZ, and then they can design an ICT product that can solve that challenge. And it must be something that is experienced by authentic people. And the product they design should be something that can be used by real people. I remember a school where we did MCE. And when we finished, I was just talking to the teacher about this. In fact, one of them now has a YouTube channel, and he has lots of followers on his YouTube channel. He's a chemistry teacher. Every day he's teaching one topic and posting on his YouTube channel. He's making money. One of the teachers, I remember them when we talked, and I told her, I said, when you even teach in schools where you have a lot of students, please take advantage now. If I'm teaching in a school where I have over 1,000 students, imagine I have a YouTube channel and all my students subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm a millionaire already. Because I'll just make my video and be posting there and be directing them. Tomorrow's class, please go and watch the video ahead so that when we come to class, you would have known. They'll go and be watching. They'll subscribe. They'll even beg their friends to help subscribe. I'm a millionaire. That was how I said it to Daddy. I didn't know that boy was listening, and he went and started. Today, he's enjoying his life. I remember a school where they needed to paint the school. It was the chemistry teacher and her students that made the paint. Where's the chemistry teacher here? Who is the chemistry teacher? Even the science teachers in the primary school. Mr. Chemistry teacher, I hope you know that the process for making paint is very simple and easy.
I don't know.
It is. Please go and research it. No, I'm serious. I'm not kidding you. I'm serious. It's very easy. You can get the entire chemicals around you and mix it. It's just mixing. It's mixing. I'm not joking. Go and find out. That was what that chemistry teacher did. Mr. Albert would know the school. It's the command day school at Ikeja. The painting they used for that school, it was the chemistry teacher and the students that made it. And it was good for them because the money that they would have gone to pay outside, they paid it to them. It's a simple process. Look into it. It's a simple process. A lot of you are dead. Home economics teacher that knows how to make liquid soap. Are you making liquid soap? Are you making your Dettol and all that? And what are you getting from it? Let's begin to look inwards, educators. Let's look inwards. Math teachers, you can come together and create a book. Math teachers, you can come together. Take your WAEC past questions, break them topic by topic, create it. You will sell, you will make money. Begin to look inwards. Begin to look inwards and see how you can improve yourself. Look inwards. It's not hard. Eh? So here it says there are students who had challenged with practicing addition, and then they decided to make some apps that helped the children. That's why I said, ICT teacher, what are you waiting for? You can come up with something. So please, please and please, and I tell you the truth, the children are so smart. You'll be amazed the knowledge they will pour out to you and how you'll benefit from it. So the rubric, students do not have opportunity to use ICT, level 1. Students are using ICT to learn or practice basic skill or reproduce information, but they are not constructing knowledge, level 2. For example, now there's an app we call OneNote. You can take notes in OneNote. So if you say children are taking notes in OneNote, or students are using their tablet to take notes, that's them using ICT, but they are not constructing knowledge with it. And then level 3 goes to where they start constructing knowledge, but they could have actually constructed that same knowledge without using ICT. Level 4 is there's no way they construct that knowledge without using ICT. It's not possible that they construct that knowledge without using ICT. And then level 5 is that point where they now become designers of ICT products. So this is a flow diagram. Students used ICT to support knowledge construction, ICT required for knowledge construction, and then the peak of it is students become designers of ICT product. So thank you. Any question? Any questions, please? Any questions? Okay, so tomorrow's class is going to be a question and answer class. I have a couple of questions for you, and we're going to be looking through those questions just to see how we can answer the questions based on what we have done in the last 2 days, and then we'll see how well we are ready. Is this clear with us, please?
Yes, ma'am.
So,
I have a question.
please go ahead.
Okay, ma'am. Please, I want to ask, is it cheaper to use a Microsoft 365 than using Zoom and Google Classroom?
Mr. Albert should be in a better position to answer that. Okay, let me say this. Google Classroom, are you with me?
Yes.
Are you with me? Now,
Yes.
yes, I know Microsoft has a package for school that it's almost free. I also know that the Google has the G Suite account. That's what they call the G Suite account for schools that is also completely free. The G Suite account comes with a video conferencing app and all that. That is also absolutely free. The Google Classroom is free. Now, the advantage is in this in this part of the world, we're not Microsoft inclined. So we don't use the Outlook and all that mail. Most of us, I can assure you, if you guys have email here, virtually everyone here that has an email has a Gmail, right?
Yes.
Yes, so that's why the Google Classroom comes in easier for us in this part of the world, because we're more into Google and then we use more of the Google Classroom. So the Google Classroom comes in easier and it's free. So yes, you can. Now the Zoom also, it's good because, I mean, you could do 40 minutes. Zoom has the basic account, which is free and it's 40 minutes. And it has all the features that you need to be able to teach your class. So yes, it is. Personally, I use, I do a lot of online teaching across UK, US, and I use Zoom. Because even my clients I teach outside the country, they are more, I think Zoom is more popular than the Microsoft Teams. A lot of people who use Microsoft Teams are organizations and they use it for their organizations and meetings. Unlike, but Zoom is what everybody everywhere is using. So I use Zoom. So yes, you can have the Zoom and you can have the Google Classroom, which is fantastic. But if you have the G Suite account, which is free, but that account is only applicable to school. So it's only your school that can apply to it and have it as a school body. So that one comes with the video conferencing app and everything is embedded in one space. Just like your Microsoft. Like I said, the Microsoft too is very good. The only difference is that we are not a Microsoft people. We are all Gmail. Everybody's using Gmail. Everybody's using Gmail. You have very few people who have the Outlook or use Microsoft. For example, now I use Microsoft Edge. I have Microsoft Edge on my system. I browse once, not that I browse every other time. I browse once in a while using Microsoft Edge, but I can tell you that 90% of Nigerians browse with Chrome, which is the Google product. So like I said, it's just a thing that we are more into Google, but the Microsoft packages are also very fantastic because you can have your video conferencing, you can have all your work in one space. If you're using the Office 365, you can have access to all the Microsoft packages. It's the Microsoft packages are beyond even your Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. You have your Access and all that. But you know, it's just to me, it's just a mindset thing. We're just mindset programmed towards Google. Not that the Office 365 is not good, but we're just mindset programmed towards Google. So everybody is Google. If I ask you now, I'm sure you all have Google on your phone, but a lot of you might not even have any of the Microsoft apps or whatever on your phone. So that's just it. We're just tailored towards Google, but the Microsoft tool is fantastic and it's very good. I mean, we're having this class now using the Microsoft Teams, and it's gone very well too, just like you understand you would have done on Zoom. But it's just a mindset thing for me. It's just a mindset thing. And I want to encourage us, please and please. A lot of times, one of the challenges we have with educators is a lot of times educators will say, I don't have money. Let me tell you the truth. This is a Christian school, right?
Yes.
It's a Christian school, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go biblical. Now, the Bible says, I would bless the work of your hand. My question now is, what is in your hand that God wants to bless? If you don't have anything in your hand, what is God going to bless and what is God going to multiply? There are some scriptures, I tell people this, unfortunately, we as Christians are the ones that don't practice the Bible. The people out there practice the biblical principles more than we do. You see that scripture that said sowing and reaping. It's not just scriptural, it's a realistic thing. What are you sowing now? Because what you do now is what you will reap in 5 years. So where do you want to be in 5 years' time is determined by what you're doing in this space and in this time. What I am benefiting today, it wasn't because of today. It's as a result of what I have done some 5-6 years back. Like I told you people, I started off with a 25,000 naira salary, but I was intentional. I loved my children, my student. I'll tell you something. During one of the open days, a parent insisted on seeing me. And he said he wanted to see me for one reason. He said his daughter said, I'm her favorite teacher. I am one teacher that they know that I love them, but I'm also the toughest teacher. The man was like, how are you at the two ends? You need to love your children enough to pay the price for them. When I won Martina Teacher of the Year, I didn't even know that there was something like that existing. It was just a teacher in my staff room that said, Ms. Olawale, come and apply for Martina Teacher of the Year. I was like, Kilonjebe, what's that? Never heard of it before. And it had been on for about 6 years. And I've never heard of it. And he now said, oh, come. He now showed it to me. I was like, you apply now. He said, no, Ms. Olawale now. You know you are the teacher that does everything. If you apply, I'm sure you would win. And reluctantly, I applied. I applied 2 days to when it was closing. And I submitted, it was closing 12 midnight. I submitted 9 p.m. I still remember. And even after I submitted, I forgot I submitted. I didn't remember because it wasn't something I was about. And you know the way things work, my phone got lost. And then I had moved from the school where I was at that time to a new school. At that time, I was in Ogun State. I had moved from Ogun State. I was now in Lagos. And my phone, I had lost my phone. So I didn't have a phone. So when they were trying to reach me, they couldn't reach me. They called my school. Now, my principal said when they told him, he refused to tell them that I was not working with them in the school again. He just told them I was on maternity leave. And then he called my other school. Because he said he doesn't know if he tells them that I'm not working in the school again, if I'll lose it. So he told them I was on maternity leave. And he now called my new school. In fact, when they called my new school, my principal was like, what have you done that your school is looking for you? I was like, Egba me, I've not done anything. So I had to call that my principal, and he now told me, and he sent me their number, and I called the organizers. The truth is, God rewards. God rewards. The Bible says children are the heritage of the Lord. Whatever you're doing with them, you're doing it for God. You're not even doing it for them. And God will reward. Be very intentional. I know where I am at this stage in my life. I know where I'm coming from. And I know that where I am, I know where I'm still going to. That's the truth. Be very intentional. When I won Martina Teacher of the Year, trust me, all the money I've invested and the sacrifices, I was in a school where I was doing everything. They didn't add 5 kobo to my salary. Nobody ever told me thank you. Nobody ever called me to appreciate me. Until the day I dropped my letter of resignation that I was leaving, that was when my principal was like, you cannot go. This is this. Who is going to do this? Who is going to do that? I said, so I was that valuable. I didn't know because they never said it to my face. So don't do it because you're expecting a reward, or don't say, this place, they don't even appreciate. You're not doing it for them. You're planning your own future. You're sowing your own seed, and you would reap your own seed. There's a scripture in the book of Ecclesiastes. The Bible says, whatever thy hand findeth to do, do it with all your might. It did not say if you are in the will of God. If it did not say that job that they have said that is what God said you should do. No. Whatever. It says whatever. Whatever. So even this place where you are, maybe the salary is not good enough, but the Bible says whatever. Maybe I am not being respected enough, The Bible says, whatever. I was in a place where I was due to be the head of department, and they removed me and brought in somebody that just came in. I was 6 years older than that person in that school, and made him the head of department. In fact, he was afraid to ever ask me for my lesson plan. I was the one that had to make him feel, bros, calm down. We know they drag anything here. Let's do this job. And I was submitting my lesson plan to him because he was afraid to even ask me for it. But you know what? I left that place, and the school I went, in 2 weeks of me getting there, I was made the head of department, and I was put on the management team. That's how God works. Sow your seed, clean. Sow your seed, clean, so that when your reward comes, it would come in full package. MCE, yes, you want to get the certificate. You want to pass the exam, get the certificate. But for me, like I said, MCE is beyond the certificate. MCE is about going back and impacting the lives of your children. It's about going back and let them see a transformation in your classroom. Let them look at your classroom and say, what happened to Mrs. O this holiday? What happened to Mrs. X this holiday? Her class is different. The way she smiles, the way she communicates, the kind of things she does, how she engages us. Sometimes take them out of the classroom. Learning must not be inside the four walls of the classroom. There are times I even take my children out to the basketball court and I will say, let's form a circle together. Today, this is where we have our class and we have fun. Do what you need to do. Trust me, we serve a God that is a rewarder, and he will definitely reward you in full when you least expect. As I talk to you today, I have over 20 students across UK and US I teach online. I was telling my friend the other day, she was telling me, when she was crying, she said, this dollar, I said, I don't want the dollar to come down. She said, my friend, will you shut up? What do you mean by this? I said, yeah. I told her, I said, yes, it's paying me. Because when I charge a client $50 and he sends me that $50 for 1 hour, that's 50,000 naira. But if the dollar comes down, the money will reduce. So what am I saying? Well, I didn't get here by magic. I got here through this. I got here by going through MCE and intentionally implementing it in my class. I got to this point where I am by sitting down. I don't play with data. I don't know how to do Facebook and Instagram. I'm not saying I don't go there, but I go there because I even want to learn. Not that I'll sit down 5 hours. I'm on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. In fact, when TikTok wanted to become a problem for me, I removed it from my phone. I don't want wahala. My best friend is YouTube. And I will sit on YouTube and say, how do I use PowerPoint? And as I'm watching the YouTube video, I'm opening the PowerPoint. When they say in the PowerPoint, I'll open, they'll say, okay, to create a presentation, go to File tab. I'll pause the video. I'll go to the File tab. I'll open it. I'll play the video again. They'll say, okay, to create the design, click on, I'll pause the video. I'll go to that thing. I will try it. And I kept practicing. This thing I'm telling you, I started 2015. I didn't know that COVID would happen and we would have to go online. I learned how to use Zoom in 2015. 2015 was when I learned how to use Zoom. I didn't know COVID would happen in 2020 and we'll have to go online. When we went online, I became the star educator in my school. Until today, I can tell you, my boss is more afraid of me dropping letter of resignation than me being afraid. I'm 100% confident that they can't sack me. But they are the ones afraid that I will say I'm going. You can get to that point. You can create that space and that value for yourself, but you need to be intentional. Especially for those of you that are still very young, you have a long way to go. Nobody should come and tell you there's no money in education. It's a lie. I told people, I said my turnaround came when I had a colleague that left the school where me and her were earning our small salary and went to day waterman and they were paying her 365,000. I hit my head 10 times that day. I said, what? Orimio, my mother did not born me with what is this? It's not, and I had to say, it's not a curse. It's not as if there's anybody in my village doing me. The question is, have I grown myself? Yes, nobody in my village was doing me. The truth is, I had not grown myself like that. My friend had grown herself. So I sat down and I told myself, me too, I need to collect 300,000 salary. So I asked her, how did you do it? She said, you have to get this certification, you have to be this. And I started learning. I didn't have money to pay. So I went on YouTube and I grew myself. To the glory of God, this year alone, I've been to 2 different countries. I did not pay 5 kobo. I was well sponsored to and fro. I just came back from China in November. I didn't pay 5 kobo. What am I saying? Sow your seed sincerely, and the harvest will come bountifully. The harvest will come bountifully. The harvest might not even come where you in. It might not even come in this school where you are now. When I first moved to my first B school, it was a parent in the school where I was that called me and said, oh, there's a school where I'm the board of director and they need a maths teacher. Come and go. I was collecting 25,000 naira and I moved from 25,000 naira to 63,000 naira salary with a 2-bedroom flat attached to it. That's how life is. So be intentional. Trust God. But as we're praying and trusting God, God will not bless an empty hand. There has to be something in your hand that God can bless. And you can start at anywhere and at any point. So I wish you all the best. Just be very intentional. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow during the question and answer time. Thank you. So I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.